Hey there, I'm Steve,
And I'm Jen.
and we are The Road Less Traveled. And today we are going to talk to you about how to find the perfect campground.
All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is what do you want and what do we like in a campground? Like, what do we look for when we are scouting out campgrounds? And we'll go through kind of each of the things that we look for, and then his favorite campgrounds and my favorite campgrounds, and then we'll tell you where we go to find the campgrounds. All right. First thing that is important to me, and the very most important thing, is the reviews. I like to have 3 stars or higher on a campground. You could probably go less than that. Would you say? Would you go less than 3?
I mean, I like 5 stars. I'm a 5-star.
I don't know if I've ever found a 5-star campground. 4s are possible, but
it's a range, you know. It's like I prefer a 3.5, but if there are no 3.5s in the location that I want, then I'll go to a 3. If there's no 3s, then I'll have to go to a 2.5. You know.
Okay, no. We will not go to a 2.5. So 3 is my cutoff. If it says 2.5, no bueno, it is not happening.
Different destination, I guess.
Yes, so that's one thing. 2 is we prefer full hookups. So if we're not purposely going to a Harvest Host, a dry camp, or boondocking and really trying to conserve there, we like full hookups, and that means electric, water, and sewer. Now sometimes there'll be not sewer, but water and electric, but ultimately we like full hookups.
Mm-hmm.
Third, I have price, because price is pretty important. And we've talked in another video about our price point for campgrounds, and I think we came at about 50-55 is what we find on average, although we like cheaper ones, and we'll talk about saving money in campgrounds in just a minute. But price, I mean, pretty real. I'm not paying like $75 a night unless it's like a vacation destination.
Or if it's 1 or 2 nights in a really nice place.
Right, yeah. So sometimes it's worth it. We've talked about this before.
But typically not.
Yeah, we've paid as high. The only high campground fee that we paid is Glacier KOA, and it was $86. It was more of a vacation destination, so that's why we paid that. And we treated it like a vacation, but price is important. This is, I have on here, we put our little list together. Laundry, and this... Even I remember we went to a campground and the lady's like, "Oh, we have laundry here if you need it." And I'm like, "We don't need it. We're only here 2 nights." We needed it. We have 2 kids. There's accidents. We needed this laundry, that laundry facility. So
Laundry's good,
especially if we stay for a long time. But there's laundromats in town that may not bother you.
That's less convenient.
It is, but you can knock it all out at once, which is nice.
I like taking the laundry over, putting it in, going back to the rig, doing stuff, and then going back to change the laundry.
But most campgrounds that we've been to don't have a ton of washer dryers, and so if we have like 5 loads, sometimes I just prefer to go to a laundromat. But this isn't about laundry. There you go. Location and convenience, that makes a big difference. So if you are trying to stay in a city or near a city, then location is something that you'd want to look at, and inconvenience to where you're really trying to go. Location, yeah, I'll pay a little more if it's in a more convenient location, because that'll make me more willing to want to go out and explore the area if we're close by. Yeah, so like we're going to go to Austin, Texas in 2021, and we want to probably stay as close to downtown as possible so we don't have to keep driving in. Whereas we also have New Orleans on our list, and there is a campground that is downtown, but I've been to New Orleans many, many times, and they even talk about how they lock the gates after hours and they don't recommend you walk. So I don't want to stay there with our kids. So I am more likely to stay outside of the city and just drive into New Orleans when we have the kids.
But typically, closer the better.
The closer the better, right?
But typically, if you're in a more convenient location, you're going to pay a little more. So
yes,
that's something to keep in mind.
And then this is one that this is always hit or miss. We can't, this isn't on campground reviews, but a playground is always nice. That's nothing that makes or breaks our decision, because we've had really good campground stays when there's no playground.
An ideal situation, we can see the playground from our RV and sit outside on the picnic table and let the kids go to the playground and be able to see them from our rig. That is awesome.
Yes, we're not asking for much.
But we just have to get lucky if that happens.
Right. So I'd say overall, I'll do a quick list of what I just went through. 3 stars or higher, full hookups, the price point, what do you want to pay? Do they have laundry facilities? Is it convenient to where you want to visit around the area, around the campground? And then playground's a plus for us. So, Steve, talk about your favorite the campgrounds. I was about to say your favorite playgrounds, your favorite campgrounds. And if you've forgotten,
my favorite playground was in Park City. But that's a different subject.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite, I judge playgrounds because we go to a lot of them. My favorite campground was the West Glacier KOA. It was right outside the park. It was a beautiful campground, beautiful scenery. They had a cafe there. They had a nice trail that went around the KOA. And it was just a really nice place. The kids could roam around a little bit, and we felt safe. And I really enjoyed it. The price was a little higher than we typically pay. But again, that was actually a fun fact is that was actually the only place that we planned ahead of time when we left for our full-time journey.
Yeah, I remember being in our old house, like booking it, going, Steve, we're going to go to West Glacier. All right, whatever. That was the only one. It
was awesome.
It was. We highly recommend it. You know, we should be spokespeople for that. We talk about it like every video. You had a few other ones, though.
Yeah, so we were just at John Prince Park in Lake Worth, Florida, and that was pretty sweet. There was just plenty of space to bike around, like not just in the campground, but outside. Like the whole grounds of the park was just really nice. And we were in that situation where we could see the playground from our RV, so we can give the kids a little more freedom to roam while we did our work, which was pretty sweet. And it was just, the laundry room was nice. I didn't go in there, Jen did it, but I did go in and take some B-roll, and it looked like there were lots of washers, lots of dryers, and you said it was cheap, right?
It was insanely cheap. Now, you had to go get these stupid tokens from the office, but whatever. I walked there and got them. It was 50 cents for the washer and 25 cents for the dryer, and the 25 cents in the dryer actually dried all your clothes. It was amazing. Like it was
impressive. It
felt like heaven. And I'll also piggyback on that. That was one of my favorite parks. West Glacier, yes, but that John Prince Park campground, it's a county campground. We were having trouble finding places around the Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale area that were anywhere close to 3 stars. And all the 1,000 Trails didn't take dogs. So we ended up finding that gem, and it was just amazing. And there was trails, I think you said this, all in the county park. So I ran 6 miles one day, and I had no problem. I could have kept running if I wanted to.
And you were in the park the whole time, right?
I was in the park the whole time.
That's awesome.
Felt safe. There was a few alligator warnings, but yeah, a lot of pretty birds. It was good. That was a fantastic one. You want to talk about Salem? Because that's underrated.
Yeah, so we stayed at a campground on our way through South Dakota. It was actually in Salem, South Dakota. And I don't remember the name of the RV park.
Dakota Sunsets.
And it was pretty nice. Well, the sunsets were really nice. And it just felt really relaxing. We had a lot of space. Like, that's one thing that I like in a campground, when you don't feel like you're so packed in, and the kids can play outside of the RV and they can kind of move around and make some noise, and they're not all up in the neighbor's business, which is nice. And they just kept it well maintained. Like the guy who owned it was him and his wife, I think, owned
Holly.
it. And he used to go around every day with his tractor and his, I don't know what they call it, grader or something. Something that makes the gravel look nice and feel nice. And he would just do that every day just to keep it looking sharp. And I really like that about that park.
And if you go stay there, tell Polly we sent you, but you can't miss the Corn Palace, which is only about 40 minutes away. So good location.
If you're coming from the east and you're traveling west through South Dakota to hit the Badlands and or the Mount Rushmore and Black Hills area, it's kind of early as you get into South Dakota, but it's pretty convenient stopover. And we actually stayed there a whole week.
We did.
It's pretty convenient if that's the route that you're going on.
It was great. I'd say the other ones that I really liked, because I liked all the ones Steve mentioned, the other one was like another rare find. It was a city campground in Jacksonville, Florida, Hannah Park. And although like the roads were kind of dicey getting in there, they had a lot. It felt like you were in the tropics. It felt like we were in Costa Rica. A lot of trees and little roads that were
just really pretty.
Beautiful. We filmed a video there. You can see the background. But lots of trails. It's right across from the beach. So the kids and I went to the beach one day. Again, a lot of running trails. That is, like, being around nature is really important to me. So I loved Hannah Park. Now, another one. So some of these are just like rare finds. Steve found it. So I'm usually the one that finds the campgrounds. And you found one when we were in the Black Hills of South Dakota. He found Echo Valley Park. And he found it because we were just... it was Sturgis. We didn't know it was Sturgis. We had some problems finding a site, I guess just like 2 days. So we go to this campground, and it's got this big hill, and then you go down, and it doesn't, like, it looks like it's a little sketchy. And then the owner, Gary, came out shirtless with his chihuahua and came and met us on his ATV. And I was like, what's going on here? But he was fantastic. Like, he's like, I got you the best site. We had site number 10, and you were far away from people. I mean, you could see people, but you felt like you were just in the middle of nowhere. And the kids could climb up this hill, and I climbed up there once. It's just beautiful. You're just all around nature. There's a mile or two, like, little walking area that you can go to. I love that park. I want to go back. The last one I want to mention, and then we'll shut up about this and go to something you probably care more about. Tom Sawyer RV Park in West Memphis, Arkansas. This was one of our very first campgrounds when we started on our trip. It's right on the Mississippi, so you can see barges go by, and a lot of space too. Like, I felt like we were around nobody, even though there was someone.
I'm noticing a common theme as we go through these. We like a lot of space.
We like space. You see, that's just it. There's a lot of, when you go through reviews, you'll say you're cramped together, and I expect to be next to my neighbor. It's an RV park, people. It's not like, it's not BLM land. You're next to somebody, and that's what you expect. So when I go to a campground and they're right next to us, I don't get mad about it. I just expect it. So when we have these rare finds, you're right. Like, in all of these, we had space. We weren't worried about being noisy because our kids are loud, and we like to not be embarrassed, I guess, by our loudness.
And also, like, when they're packed in there, you're like all up against the neighbor's sewage, so you're trying to eat at your picnic table with a nice view of their sewage house.
Yeah, it's a little gross. But Tom Sawyer is one we wanted to go back to. Like, all of these I could go back to and stay a while. But just wanted to name a few. And yeah, common themes: space, lots of running trails. Again, being in nature is important to us. And then all of those price points were around the 50, although the most recent ones, the John Prince Park Campground, is only 34. And I think from my memory, Hannah Park in Jacksonville was also about 34. One of the hard things that we found, because people talk about state campgrounds all the time because they're cheap and they're usually really pretty, they're so hard to get into that we don't plan that far in advance. And so we just kind of scrap the state parks.
I think there's one thing that we may have found. If you want to go to Florida in December, you can actually get pretty good spots, because I think it's like a time between when they call them the snowbirds from up north get down. I think they like to stay up north through the holidays. And then I think it's like packed in January, February, but it's a little less crowded in December and probably November, I would think, because the summer crowds are gone and the snowbirds haven't come in yet. So it might be a good time if you are looking to go to Florida.
Yes. All right, so we have two more parts. The next thing I want to talk about is where to go for reviews, and then we're going to talk about how to save on campgrounds. So where to go for reviews. This is probably a little confusing to me. So again, I go to RV Trip Wizard. I can't remember if we paid for that, right?
Pretty sure we do.
Pretty sure we paid for that, or we do pay for that. It's nominal. It's not expensive.
Obviously, otherwise we would know that we paid for it.
I think we paid. It was so long ago. I mean, we've been planning for a while, and I go put it in there. I go plan the whole trip. It will tell you the hours to get there, and they'll also, once you find a location, you can explore the parks nearby. And so you pull up that park and you can see everything from all the amenities, full hookups or not, the connectivity on the internets, like AT&T, Verizon, all that jazz. And then it'll go to the reviews, and that has been a gold mine for me to find. one more thing, the campground reviews in RV Trip Wizard are actually powered by campgroundreviews.com. So simple as that. You can go straight to campgroundreviews.com.
If you just want the reviews.
If you just want the reviews. So if you just want to go to campgroundreviews.com, create a login, and you can do all this too. They work really, really good together. So that's what we've been using. The other place that I go to, and this is how I found, did I find Hannah Park that way? I don't know. I know I found the John Prince Park campground that we were just raving about through a Facebook group called Where'd You Stay RV. They are a great group. So I was looking for one. I was saying, hey, I'm having trouble finding a decent campground in the Fort Lauderdale area, and great people. Gary helped me out, and I found it, and then I did a review. So you post your reviews and where you stayed as well. That's been really good.
Yeah, and before we go on to the next one, I do want to mention RV Trip Wizard and how it relates with RV Life on your phone. So the two go together. I'm not sure exactly how, whether it's the same company or what, but you can integrate the two. So you can plan out your trip on your computer using RV Trip Wizard. And then when you open RV Life, you can open that trip and then use the GPS functionality and just pull up your next campground on basically your next stop that you put in on your trip in RV Trip Wizard, and the GPS will take you to it. So it works really well. They integrate really well together. RV Life is free. RV Trip Wizard costs money. And what I did notice, one tip, is that there's no way to actually put them together manually. It's based on your login, your email address. So if you use the same email address, and don't quote me on this, but I think this is what I remember doing. If you have the same email address for your login at RV Trip Wizard as you do for RV Life, then they will automatically integrate. But RV Life is a really good app in itself. You can pull up the map and find campgrounds. So if you're not in like super planning mode, you just need to find the next spot. You're in the car, pull up RV Life, look at the campground map, and go to the map and find your campsite. And you can find a lot of this information in there too, like stars and reviews and so on.
One caveat though, shall we talk about how sometimes it totally misses the mark so sometimes when I'm planning an RV Trip Wizard, so for example, when we were coming back from Florida, South Florida to Alabama, where we are now, I had everything about 3 to 4 hours. So we had a 3-hour trip, a 4-hour trip, and a 4-hour trip. And I go in, looks good. I put on the GPS, and a 4-hour trip turns into 6 hours and 15 minutes. And it didn't just do that one day, it did it 2 days in a row. So I don't know why it does that just sometimes, but we had 2 longer days than we expected because of that little bug or whatever it is. I don't know what the cause of it is, but just know that sometimes it kind of messes you up.
I think RV Trip Wizard tends to underestimate how long it will take to get there.
I don't know. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's right on the money. And then there's been like a handful of times it's been like, just kidding, Arnold family, you have 6 hours and 15 minutes. When you thought you had 4, it's just a little bit of a, no good.
If you know the answer to our question here, if you use these apps, please comment below and let us know.
Yeah. All right. So on to probably what you care about the most. How do you save on campgrounds? So we're not going to go into anything like harvest hosting or dry camping or boondocking because those are great ways to save and go free. We're talking about you want to go to a campground, you want to be hooked up to water, sewer, electric. That's what we're talking about, all right? So the first way, which we've done a whole part of a video on, is Thousand Trails. And Thousand Trails, you can buy annual or lifetime or 4-year memberships to where you pay, and I'm not going to quote prices because they're all different. Let's just say for our sake, $600, $500 annually, and then you can get into Thousand Trails campgrounds for no further cost. Although, asterisk, sometimes there's cost for like nominal cost for things.
There's a lot of details related to that, so look into it. We're not gonna. We'll link to that video where we still probably didn't explain it very well because it's complicated. But just know that there are some caveats, and know that Thousand Trails is an option if that's something that you want. You should go look into that.
Yeah, it's confusing. The second one, and some of these we haven't used, we just have been collecting this information. The second one is Passport America, and that is where you pay an annual fee, and then your campground costs are like almost cut in half, so $20, $30 a night for most places. We looked into we're going to look into that in the future to see if it's worth it. I looked into it when I was having problems trying to get some campgrounds in Florida, but didn't end up using it. But.
And again, we love when this is a two-way street. If you use Passport America or know more about it than we do, please let us know.
Chances are you know more about it than we do. So let us know. Put it in the comments. The second one is a core. The third one. That's the third one. Corps of Engineering. Corps of Engineers. COE. Everyone keeps talking, like when we first started, people were talking about COE this, and I was like, what is that? Corps of Engineers. It's a park, and I think they have full hookups sometimes. Sometimes they don't have sewer, but those are usually about $20, and we have yet. Sometimes they seem a little far out of the way. That's why we haven't tried them. So when I've looked at some, then they just haven't been on our path, so I haven't seen those, but I've checked them out, and there's been some that have been really a beautiful park. We just haven't been.
I don't know anything about it.
What do you know about it? Put it in the comments. Now, state/city/county parks. So we just talked about Hannah Park, which was a city park, and then John Prince Campground, John Prince Park Campground, which was a county park. Again, $34 a night for an awesome campground. And then state parks are usually cheaper, but again, it's just so hard to get into them. And actually, we were looking at going to California the summer of 2021, and the state park we looked at was $54. I guess remember, I think it's about that, and I was like, this is $54.
Mm-hmm.
And then also with state parks, especially being COVID time, California can just shut down. Any state can shut down a state park, and then you're kind of in trouble.
It's California. Come on. You don't talk about California without talking about how expensive it is.
True. So maybe, yes, especially around the cities. We were looking around the Sacramento area. So look into, if you're a planner, look into the state campgrounds. Generally, they're cheaper.
And I think in general, if saving money is really important to you, then plan ahead.
Absolutely. The other one is Campgrounds of America, KOAs. Now, I know people feel like they're like, oh, KOAs are terrible, or some people love KOAs. It feels like there's like usually a lot of feelings one way or another. We've used them. We've liked some of them. We've hated some of them. But regardless, we knew we were going to be using them. And so you can sign up for their value card. It's like a 10% off per night. And then we eventually finally accumulated a free night of camping and some discounts off. It's not always easy to get them, though. Let me be honest. Like I've asked them, and it depends on who you talk to. And sometimes they tell you have to use them at a certain time, like when you check out. But either way, you can accumulate some points and get some free camping. Good Sam. You want to talk about Good Sam? I'm tired. You want to talk about Good Sam?
I don't really know. I just know that if you buy a Good Sam membership, do not quote me on this.
You said that a lot. Maybe we shouldn't be talking.
I think it's like, is it like $60 a year or something?
It's like 60. I guess I paid for it. I did it all.
Why am I talking?
I don't know. I think you're right, though.
In general, lots of parks give Good Sam discounts.
They're still, yeah. So it's like,
I think it would probably pay for itself before too long if you got it.
Yeah, I think it's 10% that you get off at camping night. So we got it. We'll renew it. It has paid off, I think, for us. Another thing is if you stay longer, you can usually save money. So when we stayed at Dakota Sunsets in Salem, South Dakota, if you stayed 6 nights, you got the 7th free, and then they'll do weekly or monthly rates at most campgrounds. So that can definitely be cheaper. And then those are kind of like the basics of saving money in campgrounds. Places to look, because you don't have to pay a lot for a campground. It just depends on kind of what you're looking for, amenity wise. Mm-hmm. Playgrounds, laundry, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add?
2 things. One, since this guy just came here, Stilton, you have to make sure that they allow dogs.
Oh yeah, we've never had a problem with that, except for those 1,000 trail. There was, out of 5 months of RVing, every single night, we have never had a problem bringing our 100-pound golden retriever into any park. I know there's some people are worried about breeds, except for there were 2,000 trails campgrounds in southern Florida that the one didn't allow pets, and then 2 like 30, 40-pound dogs. I mean, come on.
One thing too, when you're applying the filters for your search for campgrounds, if you have a bigger rig, make sure you select, it's usually called big rig access, to make sure that you can even fit, because I know some campgrounds, and I've heard, especially state parks, anything over a certain length, like 25 feet, like they don't necessarily have space for it.
And ours is 36 feet. So that's what we've been working with, and we really haven't had any problems. I know there's plenty of bigger rigs, but I talked to someone, I was like, they were asking me a rig size. They're like, oh, it's a big rig. I don't consider
a lot
it
of people do ask that. I've seen in the forums. They're like, oh, should I go for the smaller rig so I can get in more places? And we haven't really had a problem. We stay in a lot of private parks, though. I think state parks are generally, it's more of an issue, or national parks, but we haven't really had a problem with it.
Right. So much more to come. We'll have a lot more experiences as we go through our next travels. Right now we're stationary at the campground of my dad. So we're staying in his house. We're parking, our rig is parked in the driveway, but we're going to go get it.
It's another way to save money. They call it mooch docking.
But we're not actually living in our rig.
No.
We're just parking it. We're staying on the inside. And it gets a little while to get used to using the toilet flush on the handle again, because you keep wanting to flush it with your
Yeah.
I did it earlier, just like as you said.
Yeah, it's automatic.
Yes, and we're soaking up the laundry, the washer dryer, and the dishwasher while we're here until we head back out in January.
Cool.
All right, anything else to add?
Nope. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you have anything to add, any information that would be helpful, please comment below. And if you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe button and ring that little bell icon so you'll be notified when we release our future videos.
All right, thanks for watching.